Welcome to Origin Stories. I'm RD.
I'm Parrot.
We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution
Each week we interview top artists.
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
Yo. Josh Pierce, welcome to Origin Stories.
Roger, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. And this, I feel if there's anyone who's already been an official guest, if there's anyone that I feel has been an official guest that hasn't technically had a one-on-one origin story, it is you. I mean, you've been on live streams, you've been part of the circle. You know, back when we used to do the ones with the live commentary, sometimes you would get in there and have been supportive since the beginning. So I feel like this is our third time.
Yeah, I think that we've had a lot of conversations over the last year plus, and I think we jumped in and we had just like a quick back and forth, and then I came on the live stream, and it's just been awesome. Of all the people that I talk to, in the space, this is always it's like a comforting. Feels like home to just come in and chat with you. I mean, it's like it's always so easy. It's always so just natural to like have this connection with you and with Artifacts, and just like to be here.
Happy to have you, man. And let's go back as far as you want to take us. And of course, it has to begin the first time we're asking the official question. Josh Pierce, what is your origin story?
Love to hear that question. And even just to hear you say that out loud, it's like my mind starts to like create, the story of like where it all began and why I'm here and what I'm doing. It's the culmination of everything. It's the culmination of my life's journey as a creative person, as a just as as an artist, but for sure, like I think that, like, when I was a kid, right, like just to go all the way back, right, I can talk about so many things, but like I would like to touch on the fact that like when I was a kid, I had like this like insatiable desire to create, whether it was with drawing, with paper, markers. My favorite toy was tape, right? Scotch tape. I would like take tape. I would just use all the tape in the house, and my mom would be like, "No more tape," because I would just take tape and like build stuff with it, and like cut things out of paper and like build little models and like fold up little models. This is like the precursor to like me working with polygons, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would like take things as scissors, tape, and markers and crayons, and I would just I would just be putting stuff together, and I would like build little toys, and I would build little like I made these things. I made these little like wristwatch video games out of paper, so it would like wrap around. Yeah, and like I would sit there and play them in the car. Well, my parents would be like, this kid is weird. But they always knew I was like super creative, and my parents were great, and they really like pushed me and encouraged me to like pursue art and to like and to really like get into it and dive into it. So as a kid, and they put me in piano lessons, so I learned piano at an early age. They put me in art classes, just like sculpture and stuff. But all of that said, like I have very little like formal fine art training. When it comes to figure drawing and things like traditional sculpture, I feel like I never really gravitated toward those things. I never really had a talent for those things. So like I said, like when I was a child, when I was a little kid, I would draw a lot of comics, I would draw a lot of people, but they're always like super janky or just like, you know, little guy, like, it was more about the story than it was like the illustrations of the people. And then I had like a best friend down the street, and he could really draw, and like he could really depict people in ways that was like very compelling and beautiful. And I always like envied that talent. And um I could see how like I could see other people, other kids in school who were like talented artists. And there was just this vibe like where they could sit down and draw something, and people would be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're drawing this." Um and so I was kind of like, I just had to work really, really hard because I just loved art so much that that's all I ever wanted to do. And I felt like, the vision was there, the execution was not like immediately available to me. I couldn't necessarily always create the things in my mind, um, immediately translate them onto the page, or onto the screen. So I think I had to work really extra hard at that, to kind of hone and develop those skills. But I always had, I think, a very good eye, and I always had a very good ability to discern when something was working and when something was not working. Um, yeah, so I kind of like went to school for, traditional graphic design and like multimedia development. Learned a lot of like learned a lot of like web and flash, and was doing a lot of flash when I first went to school. So this was like back in the day, and I was in undergrad in like the early 2000s, and we were doing flash, and I actually had a professor there who introduced us to cinema. I went to Rochester Institute of Technology in upstate New York. It was a great school, um, kind of a under the radar school. But I had a professor there who I was so fortunate that he was like, guys, cinema 4D is like the way of the future. This was like 2002, you know. Nobody was really using cinema back then.
Mhm.
So I got into cinema, and suddenly I was able to actually visualize the things that were in my head, in a way that like, because I'm more of like a three-dimensional type of artist. I like to sculpt more. I like to build things, hence the scotch tape and paper. But yeah, I think more in three dimensions. And I think there's kind of like, I was talking to another artist about this. I think there's kind of like two like kind of schools of thought, like not schools of thought, but like perspectives. I think there's people who see things in two dimensions and can like translate things in two dimensions like naturally. And there's one is not better than the other, of course, but and I think there's people who see things three-dimensionally and can only really build in three dimensions. And then, kind of with with 3D, it's like you build in three dimensions and then you take a camera and take a picture of it, and then the camera translates it into two dimensions, and that for me is really what works for me much better than like being able to look at something and say like, okay, well, this line is creating this shape, you know, and I have a really hard time doing that translation in my mind, and I'm totally in awe of people who can do that, of people artists who are 2D artists who can see a shape and like just with one little line, like you create all this dimension, it's kind of incredible. Um,
So 3D becomes, and Cinema 4D becomes the grand unlock for Josh Pierce.
yeah, that's exactly right. It was a grand unlock for sure. And I started doing a lot of like abstract 3D stuff, that was very like painterly. I don't have any examples of that work, but like um, I did like one a day for about a year, where it was really just shapes, and colors, and just building compositions in 3D. Really bright colors, a lot of like, bright oranges and greens and just kind of like abstract shapes and colors, a lot like what's behind me here, which is actually one of my paintings also. I like to do everything, but you know, when I work in abstract, I don't have as much of a limitation as far as 2D, 3D goes. I feel like, but yeah, so I was doing these kind of like abstract 3D forms and doing kind of like one a day for like a year, like 2006, 2007, and just doing them for myself. And I would usually like make one, and then when I got one that I really liked, I would like make it my desktop background, like, okay, cool, I have this new one. But it was good exercise in training myself to kind of sit and work, and to just create, and to just like open up the software and make something and spit it out and kind of like put a bow on it and be done. That process for me ultimately became like very meaningful and valuable. um so yeah, so that's kind of where I was there. Yeah, so I don't know.
So, Josh, question. Something that I've always thought about you within this space, and I could think of, I mean, there are plenty of examples, but other examples that come to mind are Beeple, Baca Arts, Raf Grassetti. But what I'm getting at is people that others refer to, meaning other artists refer to as inspirational examples, teachers, educators, people that they were able to watch tutorials from, they were able to reach out to for specific technical advice. Do you think having those beginnings, maybe seeing others create in 2D, feeling like you had these things in your head that you couldn't express properly, then ultimately having to just work hard for it, finding the grand unlock in 3D, do you feel like that period of time helped put you in a position of ultimate teacher to others?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just to like jump forward, it was kind of like the dawn of Octane render. Like Cinema 4D was like this major step forward for me, but I think like the really big unlock was Octane render, because Octane render like introduced these capabilities with not only like material displacements that were like incredibly fast, but also these like scatter tools that let you do millions and millions of clones in ways that really just couldn't do before. And I'm a nature person. I love nature, and I wanted to create natural environments and natural scenes. So yeah, so jumping forward to like Octane, like that's when I started to kind of like really be able to visualize what I wanted to put on the page, or to put on the screen. I've always really been inspired by landscape art and fantasy art and surrealism and these kind of like magical places. I feel like some people have their thing, and for a lot of people it's characters and stories. For me it's places. For some reason it's just like what I'm drawn to, because I think I think places like give us a sense of like being. It's like I can imagine myself there, and I can imagine myself. I used to look at like National Geographic, and I could imagine myself like, I could imagine how I would feel if I was there in this place. I would feel at peace. I would feel calm. I would feel excited. I would feel exhilarated. I love to look at like tropical forests and stuff in National Geographic. And I think that's why place is so important to me. It's a sense of like being able to be transported into that, and to get a feeling of like what I might feel if I was in that place. Um, so yeah, like I think like what Beeple was doing at that time, with the everyday renders, in the like 2011, 2012, like that era. I was like watching what he was doing, maybe not that early, but I know he started back then. It was probably like 2014, 2013, 2014. I was like aware of his work and watching it. Um, but yeah, and he was growing in popularity, and he was kind of like the father of this everyday movement, where you had digital artists like doing these every days, and it started with 3D, of course, with him. But I had a really good friend who would do like an animated GIF every day, and I was like, that's a really cool idea. So yeah, so he had this like idea to like do a thing every day, and it's really brilliant, and I think it kind of like comes out of The Artist Way, with Julia Cameron's book, which is about like writing every day. And it's just like an incredible creative process to like really unlock the true potential that we have inside of ourselves, because um, we get really results oriented, I think, as artists, and we get like very grandiose in our plans, and we're like, I have this idea for this piece, and like I won't stop until it's perfect. And it goes off into this like madness. I mean, unless you really really know what you're doing, like, and but you have to. It's like I used to say, when I would mentor people, in grad school, when I would teach classes and stuff, um, you just have to sit down and make 1,000 chairs. If you want to learn how to woodwork, you just have to sit down and make 1,000 chairs, and like you get to the end of that, and then you'll be able to do whatever you want. Then you'll be able to really unlock, these visions that you have.
Mhm. Did you do a period of every days?
Yeah, so I started in like late 2017, and I never really did every day.
Pseudo every days.
I did like 6 days a week probably.
Fair.
But it was an incredible exercise of being able to sit down, create, and stay out of the results. Know that okay, I have an hour, I have an hour and a half. Like let me tweak, do this, make this scene, and then post it. And in the beginning, it was like very probably unrecognizable in terms of like the style that evolved for me. There's a lot of like tech stuff and you know some other things, but yeah, it was great. And it really helped to defeat the perfectionism, because I think that was a big problem for me. I think it's a problem for a lot of artists. We get very stuck in wanting everything to be perfect. And, the greatest art is full of imperfections. I think as an artist, we get stuck in this kind of like art versus craft, um, you know, uh, uh, just kind of sticky wicket, because we're kind of like, we want things to look perfect, but like, that's not really what art is really all about. It's about expressing your message. But so I think that Everydays was really powerful for me in that way, and just seeing what other artists were doing. Uh, yeah, like you were saying.
So you talk some about the tools, right? Cinema 4D, Octane, the unlocks. How about the specific art? So you mentioned a little bit like the tech stuff, maybe stuff that isn't, Josh Pierce today, right? That maybe we wouldn't recognize as you today, but talk about the specific evolution of the art and the concepts, and maybe even a specific piece that jumps to mind for whatever reason, a milestone, a leap forward, something that surprised you.
I hope you don't mind if I get a little personal right now, but like, I in 2013, I had like just a terrible year, and got really, 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 really bad with, drugs and alcohol. And I had to get totally clean and sober. And that was a miracle. It was a big turning point in my life. I thought my life was ending, but it was actually just beginning. And it was a beautiful transformation. And I don't want to say too much more than that about it, because I feel like I want to speak about art right now. But one of the things that really, really helped me to turn things around was the practice of meditation. And it really allowed me to explore my feelings, explore my anxieties, explore my fears in ways that were healthy, and in ways that were transformational, as opposed to avoiding and trying to blot them out, of existence, which was, the only thing that really worked for me up until that point, until it stopped working, of course. Um, so being able to approach these uncomfortable feelings through a process of meditation was incredibly transformational for me. And when I was much younger, I used to draw a lot, and I would draw these kind of very, very intricate. I have one here. This is actually the perfect moment for this. But I have one here. I draw these like very intricate like line drawings with like pen and ink.
Yeah.
Very, very detailed, very, very like trippy stuff. And it's like the magical mushroom land.
Yeah.
But all this like pen and ink line art that it took many, many, many hours, and that was my first, I think, experience of the flow state of meditation. So what I wanted to do was find a way to do art as meditation and to do art as a daily practice. And so I had been, using these tools, these cinema tools, for a long time. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to sit down every day. I'm going to have a moment of letting everything go and create. This is how I'm going to do art as meditation. And I didn't know what was going to happen at first. And so I was just making stuff. And I had a friend who was also following people, and he was like, I'm going to start doing every days. I challenge you to do every days. And I was like, okay, cool. So we started doing them together. And he dropped off about after 3 months. And I was like, just getting started. I was like, just making a lot of like steps forward in like, this is really what I want to be doing. And so, I like to talk about that a little bit, just to say that like the origin of my artistic style came out of art as meditation. And I'll talk about like one landmark piece, which was or like kind of a benchmark, I guess, piece that like came along was it was called Meditation. And it was a guy standing in a field, walking through a glowing portal. And I was posting to Instagram at the time, and like it was like my first post that like went viral and was like shared all over the internet. And it was the first time I got like a ton of likes and a ton of followers and a lot of like recognition and popularity, and people like really getting eyes on my work. And so it was really kind of meaningful to me that like this piece that had a very meditative quality to it and was called meditation was the thing that people really connected with my work. And that to me was just further confirmation that I was like on the right path, and that was like early 2017, I think. So I can't believe it's like been almost 5 years now that like this has been like growing and kind of snowballing. But it's this kind of like the natural themes of, this sunset field, this glowing abstract energy form, which is sort of a representation of the connection with the universe that that we can have in meditation. And then to bring it full circle, like this year, I did a third version of that piece and did an entire Nifty Gateway drop around that original piece, meditation. And I called the whole drop meditations, and it was just a bunch of like, it was 4 pieces that were like very oriented towards having the audience connect with a sense of stillness, and a sense of peace. And the funny thing is, all of these words are so like inadequate, to the experience. but yeah, I mean, I think like it grew out of that piece, more than any other piece. Of course, like they all played a role, but more than any other piece, that piece, which was called meditation, turned into this like, this is really what I have to share with the world. You know, this is really what I want people to experience when they look at my work. I want people to have a moment of pausing and reflecting, and to feel like, you know what, everything is okay. Right now, everything is okay.
It's such a fun journey to these thematic elements of your work, right? Where it's stuck in my mind. I usually do this. I find this through line, or this thread, and as I'm listening to you speak, I feel like it's just Josh Pierce like continually stepping into himself, finding the tool, finding the flow state of creation first, building the 1,000 wooden stools, as you put it, right? Like, or the wooden chairs, like going through that process over and over, then finding the literal expression of meditation in your way that ironically, but not ironically, becomes the first thing that people resonate with to that degree. It feels pretty poetic, man.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't like, I couldn't have planned it this way, you know, but
Yeah.
it almost looks like it was planned, you know.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the vibe that I have right now.
Yeah, it's like it's like meta on top of meta on top of meta.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, oh well, this is that, and it's that, you know, and it's because of that, you know, it's like things within things, and you know, it all connects, and it all makes sense, that it all you know, it's all interrelated, you know, and it's obviously like, um it's obviously, you know, like what I'm meant to be doing, I think, with my life, you know, is to put together this kind of work and to share this experience with others. Yeah, and so then I think like after I started to like really like snowball with the work and stuff, I got into like wanting to share my techniques and wanting to share my you know, my skills with others. I love to teach. My dad is a teacher, was a teacher, he's retired. My mom also taught for a while and worked for the Teachers Association. And yeah, so like, and my grandfather, my aunts, my uncles, everybody's teaching. You know, so I have this in my blood, you know. And so like, when I was in graduate school, I did you know, some TAing. I was teaching cinema, I was teaching art. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I did grad school primarily because I wanted to go and teach. You know, I wanted to go and teach art, just like go to a university and be an art teacher. Like that was a cool career path that I thought was really going to be interesting for me. Ultimately, it didn't work out. There's a lot of like red tape with academia, that makes it a little less fun than it sounds. Um, but you know, doing what I was doing and realizing like, hey, I could just like record myself making a piece and talk about it and walk people through it, and like have that experience of like being able to pass knowledge on to others. It's so fulfilling and like so like grounding for me, and so like, you know, like I said, like in my blood, you know, it's just like an innate want to like convey this knowledge to others. Like, isn't this really cool? You can take this thing and do this. It just makes me happy. You know, it makes me happy to be able to teach. So recording YouTube videos and doing all that was just a blast. And you know, that kind of led into doing a few podcasts with a couple of people. Like, I'd be remiss not to mention David Arya, who was someone who I learned a lot from. And you know, the iDesign crew and Grayscale Gorilla, just people that I learned a lot from, and Jonathan Woodbush, who's an amazing guy. I kind of discovered later, but like we're definitely like on that same vibe of just like sitting and working, you know, and teaching and wanting to convey that knowledge to others. So that kind of like led into, you know, this kind of other following, you know, where I was like really getting deep into the Cinema 4D and Octane universe, you know, community. So that was awesome, and like really getting connected with people, and that kind of led into trying to find ways to like make this into a living, you know. So I started like selling tutorials and like selling resources, and did a little bit of business there, and that was fun, but like it wasn't a living, you know. It was just like a little bit of you know, extra income. It was fun though, but I would like to get back to doing like more free tutorials for people. Uh, but as you know, the NFT space is just like overwhelmingly time consuming.
So, Josh, you said the words. You said the words. The NFT space. So
Yeah.
connect those dots for us. Keep walking us forward in the journey. I mean, how does that even come across your radar?
Yeah, so I think like because I was doing the teaching, because I was doing the YouTube stuff, I was like really connecting with people. You know, I had some interactions with some people who were getting their, you know, getting the vibe of the NFT space. You know, I actually like met people a little bit and chatted with him like pre NFTs, and Ryan Talbot and David Ariev and Puck Render a little bit, and Thank You X, and some other people who were like around the Instagram art world, who were like kind of getting into this other space. And I saw what was happening with people, and I was like, what is this? You know? I remember going on the Nifty Gateway site after his open edition, and I'm like, what is going on here? You know?
Wait, is this sorry? Let's frame this. So is
Yeah,
this
let's
the
go
open?
back.
Is this the open editions in March of no, not even March. No, that was December. Sorry, December of 2020. Because he had dropped in October of 2020, which
Yeah, I
was
think it was that one. Yeah.
that was the politics is bullshit with
Yeah.
the bull and okay, so that's where we are. So
Yeah.
we're in October of 2020 at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, late October 2020. I got this email from Tommy at Nifty Gateway. He's like, so, you know, the people dropped with us. He made X amount of money. Do you want to sell some art with us? And I was like, what's going on? And you know, my concern was like, oh yeah, like I really didn't understand anything about it, and I was like, okay, like am I giving you my images like permanently or like what? And he was like, no, this is like all about art. This is all about artists. Like this is not a scam. Like this is not like we're not trying to exploit you. And I was like, okay, well, like, I mean, because I knew how much like people historically was very free about letting people use his content. Um, you know, so I kind of was like a little bit like, wait, is he even making any money on this, or like what's happening? So I had a lot of questions at the beginning, and you know, I think a lot of us were kind of like, is this too good to be true? You know, this feels too good to be true. And to walk into this dream world, it's like been amazing. But yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But yeah, so I got that email. I said, let's do it. Let's do the drop. He said, sure, we got a date for you. It's March 1st next year. March 1st next year. That's like 6 months away. You know, what was it, like 5 months away at that point? And man, I'm so glad that he put me on March 1st the following year, because by that time, the crescendo had really started to peak. So I had gotten on Super Rare in January of 2021. I sold my first two pieces on Super Rare in January 2021, and then I waited and sat back for my Nifty drop, and so that's pretty much how it all started, and that's how I found my way into the space. It was through Tommy and the people who were kind of like, I guess, using, I think, Instagram to like, okay, here's people, like here's the other people that people that other people who follow people are also following these other artists, me and like Catherine and Too Much Lag and just people who were doing art, on Instagram and had an interest in like, technology and blockchain stuff. And um, so I was super into it, and I had an understanding of it. I've been doing crypto since like 2017. I got in like when Bitcoin had that bull run in like 2017. I've always kind of just been watching it and and kind of playing around with it. So I had a wallet already and I had everything all set up and I had ETH and I was like ready to go. And I was like, cool. And this all makes sense to me. And it was really presented to me as a way for, digital artists to make a living from their work, and to make a living, to be able to sell art in a way that a traditional painter or sculptor could sell art that was never available to us before. And I thought, what, that makes a lot of sense, with blockchain technology. And so for me, like, I love seeing like what everyone does with, the technology as art, but I think for me, mostly right now, still it is technology enabling art, as opposed to like being the art, which is fine for me. And I think there's use cases for both, and I think there's appropriate space for both. So I'm kind of like in that pocket more so than like somebody like a pack who's like the blockchain is the art, which is like very cool and it's different. I think there's very few of those people too, but
Yeah, I think that there truly are multiple paths, but I like how you describe it. I mean, just the ownership of digital assets, which obviously include digital art, it's a pretty special technological revolution. Let me ask you this: you hear about NFT, and it's so funny how many people received an email in the year 2020 from Nifty Gateway, and their first instinct was, "What is this scam? Like, is this a scam? What is happening here?" It's funny. I mean, it is the place and time, and then it quickly grew after that. So you receive this email, you see that People has had this drop in October, you bring the mind around to saying, no, I don't think this is a scam. I think there's some real value here. Between that moment and your super rare launch in January, by the time you do launch your first artwork on super rare, what are your expectations? I mean, when you mint your first artwork to the blockchain, what are you thinking will happen? What are you thinking is possible?
Yeah, I think I had a really open mind, for sure. I think I kind of like, I try not to have any expectations. I actually totally screwed up my Genesis sale. By the way, I got that. I missed my meeting with Tommy. Like I totally flaked.
Oh no.
And we had to reschedule for the following day. And I told people that story. I'm like, I almost like screwed this up bad. Yeah, so I didn't have a lot of expectations. There were a few other artists from Instagram who were also dropping on super rare, and I thought like, maybe I'll just try and price my work around the same as what they're pricing it around. And I minted my Genesis, put it up there. I put a price on it. I think it was 2 ETH. I got a bid on it. But this was weird because I got a bid on it for 3 ETH, right? I was like, oh, cool, I got a bid. And then someone came and paid the buy now price of 2 ETH and sniped it out from under the. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Because it was listed as buy now.
Yeah, it was listed as, it was a list price
no.
of 2, but someone offered me 3 and I didn't accept it immediately. And then someone else came in and bought it for less. I was like, I don't understand what's happening at all. But hey, at least, I looked at the dollar price of ETH and I was like, this is incredible. This is incredible. Normally a freelance gig for me that I have to work, 2-3 weeks on will net me that kind of, income. So this is my personal work, and this is something that I poured my soul into, and people want it, and people want to collect it because they connect with it. People want to have it because it transports them and transforms them. And that's what it does for me, and that's what it does for others, and that's the most beautiful thing. So like, you know, in terms of like the monetary aspect of it, you know, I was like over the moon, of course.
Mhm.
But even more so about people really wanting to, you know, because you get a like costs nothing, you know.
Mhm.
So it's like, how much do you really appreciate my work, you know, and to put a tangible value on it, um, you know, almost, you know, it makes me emotional just to think about it, you know, um, that people really believe in what I'm doing to that extent. Like the proof is there. The proof is there when someone says like, I am going to make this investment in this artist. It's not something I ever believed would be possible for me. Um, you know, seeing work. To me, the only path was the gallery path, the fine art world. And I just didn't see anyone doing the kind of work I was doing that was having any success there. So to have this technology like come out of nowhere, you know, not out of nowhere, but for me, it was a little out of nowhere.
Sure.
And and to kind of just say like, here it is, like, here's your path, you know. Um, I don't know how else to talk about it besides to say that it was miraculous and life changing and just like the most amazing thing that ever could have happened to me, you know, and to artists, you know.
It makes me so happy to hear that because um, hearing you talk about Instagram, right? I've always called Instagram and it's that era of social platforms. It's like the hidden value transaction.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
said a like costs nothing, but I actually view it as a like does cost something.
yeah.
And in this case, it's Instagram, the entity that, to give them their just due, they're creating very valuable things. They're creating a visual aesthetic to pull all of these images together. They're creating the algorithm that shows people enough that they want to see that they keep coming back for more. But those likes are a value transaction and
Mhm.
they're not going to you. And so, you do see some people are able to benefit by benefiting reputationally, benefiting socially, and then figuring out things to do with that off of Instagram. But all the while, I mean, that is a transaction, and Instagram is taking that in. So when one of your images goes viral because of what they've set up, that actually does have a very real and very legitimate dollar amount attached to it. But nobody looks at it that way.
Yeah, yeah,
And here we are. And this is the revolution of what owning a digital asset is. So hearing you recollect that and making the jump from likes on Instagram to actually being able to take your art forward, the personal passion of it, and see that someone on the other side does want it. I mean, just those are really, really special moments.
yeah, 100%. You know, I have a hard time with like, you know, seeing like I wouldn't be where I am right now without like my social media following on Instagram, you know, and that's like the bottom line truth. And like,
Mhm.
it is a good with the bad, you know,
For sure.
to just like bite the bullet and be like, okay, well, this is the platform, and this is how they operate, and this is, you know, I'm not getting, you know, a revenue share of this, you know, um, but it was still valuable for me, you know.
Mhm.
It was still incredibly valuable for me, and there's still a lot, I think, you know. I don't like to completely write something off like Instagram just because of they're now connected with Facebook. They're now, you know, like, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt as long as I possibly can, you know. But it is the old world, you know. It's like, you know, I have a hard time with it because I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't be where I am without that, you know.
Well, it's that mutual straight. I think that's a very balanced and very legitimate way to look at it. There are goods with the bads and bads with the goods, and
Yeah,
they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be where they are without all the
yeah,
artists and other people who wanted to visually share, and many of the artists and other, athletes and personalities who built quite large following. It's
Yeah.
both ways. It goes both ways. And I think it's a really, really fair way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it is the past, though. Ultimately,
Right.
it is the past. And I just want to like, show a little gratitude, and say like, that it was helpful for me, and obviously, clearly, I helped them, unwittingly. But it's the past, and that's the old way of doing things, and I really do feel like, um, the way the internet is growing now, it's growing into something that it was not before, and it's not going to be what it was before. That era, the 20 teens, let's call it, was the era of that kind of social media, and the 2000s looked different from that, and the 90s looked even more different from that. But there was no such thing as an influencer, in the early 2000s. I think Paris was the first influencer, the original influencer. But yeah, I mean, that it's going to change, and people are getting wise to this. My attention is your value, and I'm not going to give it to you for free anymore. And I think that we're moving forward. I'm so bullish on the NFT space, so bright about the future of Web3. I'm just psyched. Like, it's so cool to like be in it and to be a part of it and to like be connected with so many people. It's wild. It's wild, and it's kind of overwhelming, but it's amazing. Like, it's kind of like my whole life was like this little track, and then like this happened, and it was like
Yeah. Yeah.
it just expanded, and now there's people all over the world who I can truly call friends, right now, that like we help each other, we talk all the time, and we have like mutual needs and mutual ways to help each other. It's just crazy, and it's all around art. And it's like, this is like, what happened? Like, where am I?
Josh, you mentioned attention and you mentioned Paris, as in Paris Hilton. Who else has received shouts from both Paris Hilton and Britney Spears?
I don't know. But yeah, it was so funny. Like, I don't want to like, I don't want to say too much here, but like, I actually got like a voice memo from Paris after Britney posted my work on Instagram. She said, "Oh yeah, I was talking to her." Oh my God, I got this.
Let's go, Josh Pierce.
It was crazy, and I played it for my friends, and they're like, "It's really her."
Incredible, man. Incredible.
She's great. She's wonderful. We've chatted a bunch, and she's just the kindest person. She's a huge supporter of artists and Web3, and she's collected a ton of my work and participated in my burn mechanics that I had on Nifty, and she's just been there. And she's supported so many of my friends too, which is really cool.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Josh, let's play a quick lightning round. Are you up for it?
Yeah.
All right.
These
Hot
are
take,
quick answers.
quick answers.
I'm bad at that.
And there are really no rules. And if you want to expand on anything, you are more than welcome to. And just take a quick rollicking tour through some things.
Yeah.
All right. All right. First thing that comes to mind when I say the word, or in this case, the acronym NFTs.
Art.
Ethereum.
Bitcoin.
Okay. Okay.
This is free association, right?
Free association. Yep. Word, phrase, sentence, or more. Light.
Beingness.
Meditation.
Stillness.
Circle.
Unity.
Tree.
Nature.
I'm going to say this, and you'll know exactly where I live when I say it because of the accent, but water.
Peace.
Nifty Gateway.
incredible, friendly, generous, wonderful people.
Super rare.
Quirky, beautiful, helpful, innovative, amazing platform.
Nice.
Quirky,
Oh,
wonderful.
quirky. How about
Hey, Nifty's a little quirky too, but we all are.
I was just gonna say we're all a little quirky to varying degrees, but I think we all have a little bit of that in us. We're all those risk takers at the beginning of a wonderful journey.
Yeah.
Let's go with the artwork chronologically that you saw last. So don't worry about ranking someone against the other. Just a little today, yesterday, the day before, the chronologically last artwork you saw that made your jaw drop.
Oh, the last artwork I saw that made my jaw drop was, can I say this? Can I say the Unreal Rafferty space?
Hell yeah, man.
That shit was awesome. And the sculpture, ref sculpture from the last Artifacts drop was so awesome, so dope, so cool, so beautiful. Yeah, those things have been incredible. Going back, let's see. I just saw this morning Thank You X's reveal of his fuck avatar.
I just saw it too. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
That was a little bit of a jaw drop moment. I love it. I love his style. I love seeing it incorporated on a figure. That was really neat.
You know, what an interesting, unique take, right? It was just you could see it. You could see both everything colliding there. That was a cool moment for me too. I think that might be chronologically my last as well.
Yeah, and then I saw a photograph this morning by my good friend Ravi Vora.
Ravi.
That was, I mean, certain kinds of artworks, and I feel like I don't mind if I say that I'm in this category, are pause kind of artworks where you really do like need to take a breath and sit with it for a second, you know. Like there's some artwork that's just fun and playful and uplifting. There's some artwork that's challenging and difficult, and then there's certain artwork that's just awe-inspiring. You know, I think like him and other landscape type photographers have a lot to offer, like in that particular vein. There's a piece of his that I saw this morning that I was like,
shout out to Ravi Vora, past origin story guest.
Yeah, great guy, really good friend.
Yeah. And how about in that vein, outside of Ravi, going to someone else, we gave those shout outs to Thank You X's Way for that amazing share today, to Ravi for what you just saw. But how about any other artist, just first one that happens to pop into your brain that you just feel more eyes have to be on his or her or their work? What would you say?
Who needs more eyes? I have a really good friend. Her name's Natasha.
Mm-hmm.
She goes by the handle Postbook, and she's a collage artist. She's on Twitter. She's friggin' incredible. We've been following each other on Instagram forever. We're friends in real life, but we were friends first on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And then we realized we live in the same city and we have some of the same friends, and then we met in real life, and she's incredible. You know, and then like my crew, like my friends, my NFT friends, Adam Tastic and you know, Ryan Talbot,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, just there's so many people, you know, the brain kind of like stops, and I'm like, I think more people should see Ravi's work. You know,
Yeah.
I think that you know, I don't think he's really gotten the eyes that he really deserves. You know, there's a 3D artist. I think his name is Gal Barkan, that I'm like obsessed with. He does incredible landscapes and cityscapes. Yeah, my brain's just not in the mode right now to like pull people's names out of the air. But
I think you're cranking, man. You got
yeah.
a good 4, 5, or 6 right there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm gonna think of somebody later and be like, oh my God, why didn't I say that first?
Send it my way, and then when we post the episode, we can just layer in the comments.
Yeah. That sounds good.
So Josh Pierce, what is next as your origin story? The first, right? You've been on the live stream before. Here we are doing the first of your origin stories. We'll be back for a milestone at some point, no doubt in my mind about it. But as we wrap this first one, what is next? What's coming?
Well, I mean, you know what's coming. What's coming is I want to create spaces. I want to create worlds of my art. I want to create places where people can experience my art in more than one dimension, or more than three dimensions plus audio, right? I want to create places where people can experience my work in a more immersive way. And thanks to you, I'm going to have the very first initiation of this idea. And I think it's really going to help to drive forward like what I want to do in the future, because I don't see my art, and I don't see my process, and I don't see my subject matter changing much. I see it getting more focused. I see it getting more refined, but I don't think I'm destined to veer off into some vastly different direction. I think I'm honing in on the message that I really want to communicate to people, and I think like deepening it is what's next. And I think deepening it through more immersive experiences is really what it's all about for me. That's where my focus is. I want to find ways to engage more directly and more encompassingly with the NFT community in terms of collector bases, and trying to like build more community around people who love my art. I'm not great with that kind of stuff, but I'm looking to try and connect with more people who can help me do those kind of things. So that's also kind of what's next. It's really those things that I'd like to try and focus on.
Let's go, Josh Pierce. I'm here for it. I can't wait to step in. I can't wait to step in to, I mean, this incredible path that you've walked, presenting us with an opportunity to slow down, like you said, to give pause, to consider, and consider something bigger, and take a seat. I like the figures that you use that present that nice sense of scale, and also you allow others to step into that figure and sort of define. It just makes it very easy for myself to say I could be that figure, and I could come in here, and I could take a seat, and I could look up, and I could experience that sense of meditation, sense of wonder. So I can't wait to physically step into the first immersive environment and see you keep going. It feels much like we talk about that synchronous journey that you're going on, those periods of unlock, those stages of unlock. It feels perfect, man. And good luck with everything, and we will see you very, very soon.
I appreciate that so much, Roger. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate all those kind words. I can't wait for you to experience it.
Take care, man.
All right. Thanks, man.